What's up, guys? I'm Cameron Cisneros, your host for Empire Hours, powered by 1EXP. And in this episode, we're talking about the identity that you have to kill in order to build your empire. This show is about the work that nobody talks about, the identity shifts, the influence that you have to earn, and the impact that actually lasts. If you're building something real, this is a show you're not going to want to miss. You're in the right place. And today's guest is an incredible powerhouse leader, Angelica Ventrice, who is a high-performance life coach who helps people across the globe break out the cycle of burnout without losing their competitive edge. She's coached over thousands of women, lost 40 pounds, and built a transformational framework around nervous system regulation, identity mastery, and sustainable success. But what in this episode I really wanted her to talk about is, how do you untangle your worth from your productivity? How do you know when you're building something versus just grinding yourself into the ground? Because if we're being honest, most of us don't know the difference until it's far too late. So I'm super excited to get into it. This episode is one that you're not going to want to miss. We're dropping next level value. And at the end of the episode, we're giving out 10 giveaways. So stick to the end, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. Talking about your story and your background, Angelica, the moment you realize your own success was costing your health, like, have you had a moment where you realized that it was at the expense of your health? And can you talk about what that breaking point looked like for you, figuring out and navigating that phase of your life?
Yeah, of course. It actually happened to me twice. First of all, thank you for having me and thank you for the introduction. So it happened initially first when I was doing pharmaceutical sales, which for the realtors listening, that's why I love coaching realtors, because it's kind of a similar energy. I was number one rep in the country for one of the drugs I was selling. On paper, everything looked good, great career, right? But I slowly gained 40 pounds, and it came to the point where standing in my closet, nothing fits, feeling really exhausted, not wanting to spend time with my partner at the time or go out with friends. And you just kind of look and you're like, what just happened to me? Sure, I was making money, but all the money in the world is useless if you're not enjoying it or you don't want to enjoy it while you're making it. And then it happened. I got really burnt out again. I've never gained the 40 pounds back, but I got Epstein-Barr virus just during my entrepreneurial journey, just from pushing too hard. And listen, I believe in pressure. I believe in hustle. I'm from New York. We all need a little bit of that. Pressure creates diamonds. However, the overpressure, the overpushing, the overextension will lead to burnout, right? So it happened to me again. I got really sick and I was like, okay, I'm living too much in masculine energy. We all need that balance of masculine and feminine. So like you said, it hits us often too late when we're already feeling sick, gain the weight, feeling unfulfilled. So paying attention, and we'll talk about some of those things later, like what are the little indicators that we need to pay attention to so we do slow down and don't get to the point where we're already over the cliff, right?
Right. That is crazy to think of the weight that you bear from that and the other people not realizing what you're going through internally and struggling with that.
Yeah.
A lot of the battles are internal and people don't realize this the weight that we're carrying with us.
Right. Yeah. Physical weight and emotional weight, right? So once I got rid of the physical weight, there's also still this emotional weight that we carry. Yeah.
Well, 100%. And talking about the emotional weight in your identity, you talk a lot about identity mastery.
Mm-hmm.
What identity did you have to kill to become the version that you are today?
Such a strong word.
Yeah.
So I actually had to kill off the fitness coach, Angelica. She was with me for a long time. After I lost the weight, that's what I transitioned into from pharmaceutical sales. And it afforded me a great life. I built a brand. You could see it if you scroll down on my social media, all the way down Instagram, you can see more of the fitness stuff. And it was a nice piece of me, but I kept clinging on to it because it made me 7 figures. I got a lot of clients. I was really successful, attachment to worth, right? But inside I was like, I am not a fitness coach anymore. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a business coach. I'm an identity coach. I'm going deep with my clients, but no one could see it because all I'm doing is posting about fitness because that's what my business looked like on the outside. And it was a strong misalignment. So I really had to kill her off fully, completely. I thought I was killing her off, but she kept showing back up. I'm like, well, let me just do this one post on this, right? I was just she would just show up again. For me to become who I am today, and we probably would not have met and be having this conversation if I was still that version of me. So I really do believe to get to the next level in your identity, you need to fully kill off that old piece that's no longer aligned. So that's the version I had to kill off.
Did you feel polarizing weight internally, the internal battle between the version that you're pulled to be versus what you're still stuck in?
So misaligned. And I call that the messy middle. A lot of crying, a lot of confusion, a lot of grief because that was a piece of me. That was a decade. That was a beautiful business I built. I had to, instead of shaming myself about it, being like, oh, you're a failure, you're shutting this down, you should have sold it when it was this, and all these thoughts that come up, I had to say, let's be grateful for this time in your life and this piece of you. It served you. My program at the time was called Fit for Life. It was a beautiful thing. You helped, hundreds of women, but let's make peace with it and let's move on. But that inner chatter, that dissonance, the ego being like, no, keep it. They made you money. And then the next level, you was like, no, move on. You're done. You're done. It's like this back and forth, and it's hard. It's a messy middle. It's very hard. It's very hard.
What was the breaking point for that decision? Because you were teetering and carrying that weight for so long. Like, what was like that sending point where you were like, I have to, I'm done. The pain of staying the same exceeds the fear of the change. Like, what was that?
I would post about, perimenopause, weight loss, and all these things. And I just kind of stopped getting clients. Like the universe was like, you're not going to get clients for this. Or then women would apply for the quote unquote weight loss, but then nothing would happen. They wouldn't answer me, or they would cancel the call. And I'm like, universe is literally just dropping bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kept trying till the universe basically slapped me in the face and was like, this is done. Because I would get comments on my post, yeah, I'm interested in your weight loss program, but then nothing would happen. And I'm like, this is so weird. I'm like, no, it's not weird. The universe is telling me what to do.
Yeah, no, agreed. I agree. I think the universe, when it's time to make that next chapter, I find all of the synchronicities that are pointing to, you need to let this go. If you don't decide to take the step, I tend to see the floor collapse under you. So it's either you take the step or
the floor was collapsing. It was going. And then in the same time, while all the floor was collapsing, that was horrible. I had a male client reach out. I've been desiring to work with males again because back in the day I worked with males, and I was like, oh, this is a sign. And he literally typed to me the exact work I do. I'm looking for a high performance coach who works on capacity, visibility, growth, internal. And I was like, this is literally what I've been doing, but have been talking about. It was like, how did he find me? So he must have seen, he watched my speaker reel or something. I don't know. So once again, the universe was like, here, these are the type of clients you want to work with. So yeah.
Yeah. And the outcomes when you are aligned are just so much more substantially meaningful and just less friction. When I realize I'm aligned on the right path, the less resistance.
Yes. But we fight so hard because listen, we have identities that have been with us since we were children or for a decade or over a decade. So it's not just easy to be like, peace out, bye, we're done with this identity. I wish it was that easy, but this is the work we do, right?
Especially in a lot of careers, a lot of people center part of their identity around their work. And you see it, people maybe have worked for something for like a decade, 2 decades, and then in their 30s, 40s, 50s change, and they go through this midlife crisis.
That's kind of what I coach my clients. I'm like, you're in the messy middle, breathe, it's gonna be okay. We're going through it, but it's totally normal.
And when you're talking to those clients about that coming from the fitness industry, what weight do you see most people carrying that has nothing to do with their body, like nothing to do with physical weight?
Yeah, even though a decent amount of them, the threats from the change does show up in physical weight, but honestly, the weight is carrying an identity that no longer serves them, right? Like clinging really hard, clinging to an outdated, heavy, older version of themselves that got them to this point, but isn't going to get them to that next point. And they're just clinging to it so hard, so it shows up as it's just very heavy emotional weight for them, just clinging to that old identity.
And do you find similarities between the burnouts and the identity in that messy middle, like how they've gotten to that? Like, what do you think is a key factor that gets people to that point to begin with?
I do believe it. There's several things. I think often clinging, like for me, it was clinging to this. There was this instance where it's clinging to the old identity, pushing so hard when you want something to work, but it's not aligned. And then the other way we can burn out is just not being present, pushing so hard in our work, not slowing down, forgetting about the journey, only focusing on the outcome, which we know a lot of realtors do. Close the deal, next deal, close the deal, next deal, right? So go from one thing to the next and next. That's a way to burn out too when you're operating in zero presence in your life.
Yeah. That's what I was doing so well in the work that I neglected my body.
Yeah,
I neglected.
Yes, your health, your relationships. Just like take a walk without your phone, look at the trees, look at the ocean, ground.
Yeah.
People just forget. Things sound so small and maybe kind of silly, but most people don't do them.
Yeah. For those that you see do that, how do you untangle someone's identity from their productivity without them losing their edge?
Yeah, amazing question. Best question. I love this question. First, I want to give them permission to realize productivity doesn't equal edge. That's the first thing. Because as high achievers, as high performers, we think push, 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 productivity is my edge. But that's not really the truth. So first it's like, I'm going to give you permission to understand that your edge isn't coming from productivity. Your edge is coming from clarity, fulfillment, resilience, joy, passion. That's the edge. But we forget that because we live so long in fight or flight survival mode to show up and get to the next level and make the money. And it's just how we're wired, many of us, not all of us, but 97% of us. Yeah. Many of us are not high achievers, right? So it's normal for high achievers, high performers, realtors, for our value and worth to be tied to our productivity and performance. So first it's giving them the permission to say, that's not your edge. And really feel into what is your edge. And it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but letting that go.
Yeah, I agree. And it's almost ironic, like in building businesses, in the very beginning, we tend to have ownership over everything. Like we're doing everything.
Yes.
And then the whole point is as the business grows, you're supposed to let go of the things that you're not, even the things that you're good at. You're supposed to delegate.
Delegate, yes.
And even if I'm good at these things, I follow a framework called Model, Mimic, Master, Multiply. It's Brandon Dawson's from 9-Figure Mindset. You can model a concept, like model the thing that you want,
right.
Mimic it through repetition and getting in the rooms with those people, master it through consistency, and then multiply the concepts and transfer them into an empire of people around you so that you can focus on elevating and scaling it. I get so caught up in answering my emails or doing the small things that I could literally just delegate that out to.
Yeah.
Because you're right, productivity does not equal your edge. And that's something I learned the hard way.
It's learning to say like, okay, I'm good at this, right? When I was growing my business, I was really good at messaging people in Facebook and Instagram. They would maybe comment and I could be in there all day, but then I'm not being creative, then I'm not speaking, then I'm not doing the other things. So it's understanding what to give up and what your true, I call it dharma, like what your dharma, really what lights you up. And that really is your edge. That really is the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. When we talk about influence in that nature, like what's the difference between someone who actually wants to transform versus someone who says they want to transform, but they're stuck, like they're still in the same things, no matter how much they want to say they want to change? Like, what do you see there?
The people who really want to transform, like you and I, right? We understand we can be the bottleneck. And we understand that we need to let the old identity fall away. The people who don't want to transform, they will keep clinging to the old version of themselves. They'll make excuses. They'll look for more strategies, more information, more tools, more tactics. Teach me this, right? Without realizing that they need to turn inward. The people who transform always turn inward and look at their relationships, their fulfillment, their clarity, to know that when they let go of this piece of identity and move into the new one, they're going to get to the next level. Those are the people who transform. The people who don't transform are just clinging to an old, outdated version of themselves that, once again, got them here, but isn't going to get them there.
And can you, when you're interviewing your potential clients, do you ever get that sense from them? Is this someone like legitimately here to transform, or is this someone...
Oh yeah. I've been in sales since I'm 16, so I can pretty much tell someone who's, I call it interested versus committed. Interested are the people who are interested never hire me. They're looky-loos. They're going to ask a million questions. Well, how's this work? How's that, right? They don't want to go deep, right? They're going to make excuses. They're going to talk in circles. The people who are really committed, it's typically one conversation with me. They maybe looked at a few of my videos. They feel a sense of conviction. They're energetically aligned. And they're ready to change. I call them like the disruptors. They're ready to disrupt their status quo. They're ready to make a move. They understand that they need to get real uncomfortable with themselves to have that breakthrough. Those are the people who are committed. They genuinely want to grow. They're not trying to stay safe. They're not making excuses. They know that they may be the bottleneck in their business, or they may be the bottleneck in their health, right? They're just owing up to their BS, quite honestly, right?
Agreed.
That's how you change. You say, okay, I'm operating like this. It's not serving me. Boom, let's go to the next level.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And this is something, and I wanted to ask you about too, is those that are committed to change and committed to the transformation, and they're doing all of these things. In my personal pursuit of success, I have felt more alone in this path during certain points in my career than had I been settling for the mediocrity of just like being average and being okay with the comfortability of what I had. Like how do people find their tribe when like that type of mindset that we talk about is so rare? I found the more that I went and I elevated myself, the less relatable I found myself to my community. Like the people I called my friends at one point, and like family members, just my loved ones.
Yes, there's a real loneliness that comes to operating at the level that you and I operate with, but you will find people, right? Like we found each other. I just think it takes a little more discerning with your energy. And I also think it's accepting that certain people are going to fall away. I talk to my clients a lot about that. Just because you've been best friends with someone since you're 5 and now you're 45 and you've grown and you're this entrepreneur and you are spiritual and you're meditating and you're walking and you're growing, you're doing all these things for yourself, and your friend is still out there drinking in Cancun, partying or whatever. Now, no judging, right? But like, if you're on different pages, just accept it. Doesn't mean you don't have love for those people, right? But I too felt that, like, different from, my friends in New York. We're all married with kids and never left Long Island. I've traveled the world. I live in Hawaii. I've grown a successful business. I'm an entrepreneur. So you eventually do find your tribe going to networking events, right? However, we linked up somehow. I feel like, some people will talk really negatively about social media, but if it wasn't for social media, you and I wouldn't have connected, right? And look at the people we're surrounding ourselves with. So you can find people. You just have to sometimes do a little bit of digging, and it's okay to have a smaller circle too.
It is.
I'm in my 40s now, and I'm like, okay, I have like 3 really strong friends. It's okay. So just accepting, like, it's okay to have a smaller circle, but when you go to networking events or Inman or EXP1 and things like this, you meet so many high level people.
Yeah. One of the big things that you talk about a lot too is nervous system regulation. Mm-hmm. And that's one for me personally hits home because I am a really great producer. I'm a hard worker.
I know you are.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like that, but I struggle with nervous system regulation where I am so wired and on edge and constantly like I feel like in my head I'm like I thrive in stress, and I know a lot of people feel the same way, and I know my cortisol levels must be
I thrive in high stress. I'm like, yeah, you think you do, but your body doesn't.
Yeah.
Inside. Yeah, I used to be more like you. I am type A. I'm an Aries. I'm very fiery. I'm from New York. Over time, and as you get older, you have to let a little bit of that go. I'm not saying you're not like that's a beautiful piece of you, but you learn to say like, I'm actually highly dysregulated. When you say I thrive in high stress, you're actually saying I'm highly dysregulated and I need to take a moment to calm down. I need to do some box breathing, some shoulder shrugging, and meditation. It doesn't need to be long, but just taking a few minutes to turn inward, to slow down, because Cameron, you're so successful. You do so many amazing things, but I truly wonder, like, does she slow down? Does she journal? Does she think about all the amazing things she's doing? Does she have a level of presence? Because you're just like, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. Right? Yeah. So, it's a reminder to all of us, like, once again, back to that word, to be more present. And like what people often think when I tell them to meditate or do these things, I'm like, you don't need to do it for 30 minutes. You don't need to become Buddha, but just like 5 minutes of deep breathing or box breathing, it'll really change you. It'll slow everything down. And also for the longevity of your internal operating system. Because when you're operating in fight or flight, you increase your cortisol, impact your gut microbiome. There's all these things that we're not thinking about. We're like, I'm good, I'm going, I'm operating stress. Your body's like, beep, beep, beep. And all of a sudden you turn 40 and you have all these issues, right?
Right. Well, that's kind of what happened was I was like 25 now. This was like the last like year, started getting heart palpitations.
Okay.
Was going to, because I just, like, I would eat once a day because I'd forget to eat. And it'd be like at 4 p.m. I'm like, oh, that's hustle culture, right? But our body can't keep up with it.
No, well, keep that up. By the time you turn my age, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
100%. So my foundation was off of pain and was off of dysregulation. And so the more I climbed, I associated, I'm like, oh, well, if I want to achieve more, I have to be in more pain because the pain is going to push me to do. And it's just like a vicious cycle.
Survival patterning. And that was your identity. Your identity was survival patterning, right? Mm-hmm. Your body was used to it. Ego kept you safe by doing that. It's a survival pattern.
And for someone like that, regulation schedule was flip-flopped. What techniques do you use to flip that regulation back to its normal cycle?
Well, actually the question, because there's no rules. Some people are night owls. Some people do thrive later in the evening. So there's no rule. There's a lot of stuff on social media. The only successful people, they wake up at 4:30 a.m. It's like, okay, no. Everyone's bodies and circadian rhythms are different. And this is where having a level of intuitiveness with yourself and learning yourself what feels good for you. So are you a night owl, or do you prefer to operate in the morning?
Prefer to operate in the morning. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
So yeah.
the best.
Okay, fine. It comes with slowly resetting your circadian rhythm. So if you've been wired up till 3 a.m. and you want to start waking up early, we can't just be like, okay, Cameron, you're going to wake up at 6. So we have to baby step, right? So maybe it's 10, then maybe it's 9:30, then maybe it's 9, then you go to bed a little earlier. Evening and morning routines play a role too in setting your framework for the day. So taking a look at the person as a whole, but making sure we're not forcing them, right? Because if it doesn't feel good to you, like I don't like waking up at 5 a.m. Can I get more done when I wake up a little earlier? Sure, but like I rather just extend my day and sleep till 6, right? So I know what feels good for my body, and it's listening to that. So it just comes with resetting that and listening to what works for you. But you can flip it. It just takes patience and time and due diligence.
100% is something that, and I consume so much self-development, and I listen to all these incredible people, but not many people talk about what you bring up. The nervous system regulation and like maintaining your health in the process. It's all like hustle, work hard, stretch your bandwidth, no blank space on the calendar. Like, I want to meet the devil, have blank space on the calendar.
I mean, I would love to really take a look at their internal system and see like how much cortisol they have and their like give me their full blood panel. Let's see what's going
Yeah.
on there.
Agreed.
Maybe some of them it's perfect. I don't know. And like we said, certain people can operate in different energies, and that's okay. But I do think that in general, in America, and if you go to Italy and you go to Greece and you go to Spain, you go to Europe, you see they're slower, they're happier. There's a different level of presence there. The food is better, it's healthier, right? In America, it's just unhealthy. It's hustle culture, it's push. It's like, it's overdone. And we need to take a way to slow down and celebrate our success. And once again, I'll go back to all the money in the world is useless if you're not even celebrating it, right?
Yeah.
Be present.
Or if you don't have your health either.
Right, or if you don't have your health, right? Yeah, if you don't have your health, or right, it's just it all goes together. So that level of presence is just so important.
And one of the lessons I got idolizing the hustle culture and idolizing these polarizing figures that are out there doing that, you really get to see like behind the curtain is people that you see on stage preaching things that they aren't freaking practicing themselves. You look at the greatest figures and they're up on stage and they're preaching these principles and these things, but if you pull the curtain, a lot of the people that you see aren't practicing exactly what they're preaching on stage. And it's a saying, a lot easier said than done.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
a lot easier said than done. And no one's perfect. I share and I coach through lived in experience and practice what I preach. In no way am I 100% all the time, but there are what I call non-negotiables and standards that I live, ride or die by. I will always wake up and meditate. If it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30. If I'm traveling, okay, maybe it's not going to be as long. I'm going to do what I can to get my feet in the earth every day. It's one of the reasons why I chose Hawaii to live. It's warm every day. I'm very intentional. People say you're lucky. I'm like, no, I designed this life intentionally, and you can too. This is not luck. It's life by design, right? So I do things to intentionally keep my nervous system at bay, right?
Yeah. For someone who's listening here today, if they want to have most kick-ass 2026, what are 3 non-negotiables that you would give to them today that they could apply immediately?
Okay. First one I would say is, because we talked a lot about identity, is write down what piece of identity we all know you need to let go of and what it will cost you if you don't let it go. A lot of people do a lot of positive affirmations and positive visualization. What I'm advising you to do is actually do a negative visualization. If I say this way, if I don't let this piece go, here's what's going to happen to my life. And that could be in your health, that could be with your, whatever it may be, right? If I don't hire a person, my business is going to collapse. Whatever it is, do the negative visualization. It's very powerful. Second one would be to not check your phone first thing in the morning. Okay,
Guilty. I'm guilty.
Talk about nervous system. So you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh. And really, your cortisol goes through the roof. You're absorbing everything from outside into your internal operating system, right? You didn't give yourself even 5 minutes to just breathe. That's where the creative energy is, right? We're in a certain state in the morning when we wake up. And when you're in that state, that is the best time to just turn inward, meditate, box breathe, journal, just do something for yourself, just 5 minutes before you check your emails and pick up the phone, because the second you do that, you are out of the state where we're able to manifest and we're most creative. Like that is a very important time, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yes. Oh, yes. I take my mornings. I'm going to cut the phone out, just like you said, but I do take that first 30 minutes to do affirmations and write down my goals and just have a clear
Perfect.
visualization.
Because then what are you doing on your phone first?
Notifications. Get a couple of text messages in the morning.
Okay.
Um,
We all do. Yeah, don't look at them. Just, I mean, because I use my phone to meditate and I wake up, especially because a lot of my clients are Pacific time or East Coast. I see I have messages, but I have now trained my brain to just YouTube app for meditation, which I think, people ask me like, oh, what app? Honestly, you don't even, there's great apps. Just go to YouTube, type in 5 minute meditation, right? I mean, there's so many out there. There's really no excuse. I mean, meditation has been studied for centuries, and it changes the pathways in our brain, and it also affects our nervous system, it affects our business, it affects our bodies. It just does so much for us, and I just think it's so underutilized in high performers, which is why I teach it.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, 100%. And I mean, this is great stuff. One more. Yes.
One more. Take out a piece of paper, write a plus, write a minus. On the plus side, write all the things that are giving you energy in your business, in your life. People, right? People that are giving you energy. On the negative side, what's draining you? Pieces of your business, people that you're hanging out with, events you may be attending. And then just slowly decide, okay, let's say that your negative list is very long. This typically happens. You're not going to be able to eliminate it all at once, but pick your top 3 and then go from there. You're going to feel energetically lighter.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of this is being very honest with yourself. You have to
Exactly.
be honest. Yeah.
Brutally honest. And you ask that question, what's the difference between people who transform and people who don't? The people who transform are brutally honest with themselves. They ask for help, right? When I started my coaching business and I had no idea what I was doing, I was like, I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to get real honest with myself. I am floundering here. Let's go. I need a coach, right? That's
Right.
how you transform.
Yeah.
Yes, you're honest.
Agreed. It's one of the hardest things for some people is to face themselves. They will dodge and weave and bob to not face themselves. That's the key thing. If you saw yourself for what you are, not who you were, not the potential of what you're going to be, but who you are right now, you would find that there's a lot of things that are inhibiting your frequency level, the level of frequency that you operate at,
Totally.
our emotional regulation state,
Yep.
what we feel. If you are jealous, angry, all those types of emotions, look at the emotional chart, those lie in the low frequency.
And people operate them all the time. All the time. You saw that post about that lady who made the whatever crazy comments about my outfit. It's like, what frequency is she? It's disgusting, right? But
Right.
people operate that all the time. Those low frequencies, complaining, things like that. I'll say to my clients sometimes they get on the phone with me. They're just complaining. I'm like, I'm here. You can vent, but we're gonna nip this now because you're operating at a really low frequency. And if
Right.
you desire to make more money and attract more clients and grow your business, that frequency won't work.
That's why you see people tend to hang out with those that reflect the frequency that they operate at. That's why people in a different class or like very successful, like makes maybe someone off the lower frequency makes them uncomfortable, makes them feel these emotions. And it's the operation of frequency. Now, for someone who has been captivated by the incredible value that you dropped today, like how can they get in touch with you? How could they get into your coaching program if they're interested in getting to connect with you more and diving into this transformational journey in 2026?
Send me a message on Instagram. Simple. Yeah, I'm always on there. It's me and my messages. So send me a message. I heard you on Cameron's podcast. Would love to explore. So yeah, just send me a message. Always available there. Yeah.
Sweet. And what's your handle again? It's Angelica Ventrice?
The Angelica Ventrice.
The Angelica Ventrice.
So weirdly, someone has my name. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
How to put the
Right. If you DM us the word impact and follow the Angelica Ventrice, we are doing 10 giveaways at the end of this episode. We'll be
Amazing.
announcing them by the end of next week. Yes, I'm super excited for the drop.
Amazing.
And I mean, this has been an incredible first episode of 2026. It's been freaking awesome. I just can't thank you enough for just the value that you share and the leadership that you pour into others. And I mean, you're just changing the game in the industry. You know, you're an industry disruptor.
We are disruptors together, right? Like attract like.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you again so much for being on here today. Thank you guys for listening to us here, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Ciao.